It's highly social. It's highly engaging.
I love video games.
Last of Us Part 1 and 2, The Witcher, God of War.
The video game industry has grown into a nearly $200 billion global market, larger than film, television, and music combined, and is projected to grow around 6% annually.
The really big hits of today, the Call of Duties, the Fortnites, the EA Sports Football Clubs, the Grand Theft Autos, like they just keep becoming more and more dominant.
In addition to being an avid gamer himself, Doug Kreutz is the Senior Media, Entertainment, and Gaming Analyst at TD Cowen. He's been following the industry trends for decades and has witnessed one game in particular outshine the rest.
GTA 5 has sold over 200 million units life to date, which is far and away the most that any video game has ever sold. It's not even close. Has probably generated $10 billion in revenue life to date.
Lines are long, but it's pretty worth it.
Rockstar Games, a subsidiary of video game holding company Take-Two Interactive, released Grand Theft Auto 5 back in 2013.
Today, it's still the standard bearer for the industry, even though it was launched so many years ago. And that's kind of astonishing in a business where the technology is continuing to change at a pretty steep rate.
Strauss Zelnick is the chairman and CEO of Take-Two, which is also behind successes like NBA 2K, Borderlands, and Red Dead Redemption. But all eyes are on its next installment of the Grand Theft Auto series, GTA 6, set to be released this fall.
I saw the trailer and it was pretty crazy.
I'm excited. I played 5 a lot growing up.
I would be willing to spend 100. It's just that legendary.
The anticipation for that title may be the greatest anticipation I've ever seen for an entertainment property, and I've been around the block a few times.
It's been 12 years now. Why does it take that long to come up with 6?
We set an intention, actually, to rest our intellectual property. So some of our competitors come to market very regularly, maybe even annually. We think you need to create enormous anticipation on the one hand. On the other hand, it takes a long time to develop these big, robust experiences. Rockstar Games seeks perfection.
Take-Two is a major publisher and developer of AAA titles, a classification used within the industry for high-profile games with high budgets.
Luckily, we have the balance sheet for it. It's one of the reasons that, standing up a company in a garage today will be awfully difficult. So in a way, the incremental costs have enhanced the barriers to entry to benefit companies like ours. We have team sizes that are as small as 20 people in the mobile space and as large as thousands of people in the console space.
Even after spending all that money and time developing a game, how does a company know if it will be a hit or a miss?
You would look at the sales of the last iteration, or in the case of new intellectual property, you sort of get a sense of what you think that thing looks like and compare it to other similar releases. We have consumers come in and play the games along the way and give us feedback. In the movie business, there is testing, but what do you test? You can't really test before you have a rough cut. To have a rough cut, you've shot the entire thing.
The only way we're going to get through this is by sticking together, being a team.
Like movie studios, gaming companies also market their product by releasing trailers before a game debuts. To date, the trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 has racked up more than 245 million views on YouTube.
What's the revenue stream look like? How do you get your money?
In the case of console and PC, there's a free-to-play business, but that is largely a business where you purchase a unit, and then you often have the opportunity to engage in an ongoing basis after the original purchase through a multiplayer, for example, experience, and that would be also monetized in-game.
The question is, how much in-game revenue can it generate? GTA 5 currently probably generates around $500 million a year in in-game revenue. Now that's a lot of money, but it's less than half of what Call of Duty generates. It's probably less than a third of what EA Sports Football Club generates, and it's maybe 15% of what Fortnite generates. I do think that GTA 6 Online will be bigger and better than GTA 5, and it will probably be more successful, and the only question is, how much more successful.
But Strauss isn't putting all his eggs in one basket. In 2022, Take-Two acquired mobile gaming giant Zynga in an $11 billion deal.
It was the most expensive acquisition that had been done in the interactive entertainment businesses, eclipsed quickly by the Microsoft Activision deal. But at the time, it was a big deal, and certainly a big deal for us. Mobile represents 50% of our net bookings. It's a very successful business, and we have new hits. Our goal on the mobile side is to have the #1 market share in mobile. We're not there yet. We're heading in that direction.
About 190 million people between the ages of 5 and all the way up to 90 play video games in the United States, and approximately 3 billion people play worldwide. So how did the video game industry become the behemoth in the entertainment sector that it is today?
It goes back in some ways to the 1960s, when some people were fiddling around with electronic equipment and seeing what they could do with it. From a commercial point of view, it really started in sort of the mid to late 70s with the Magnavox. The Atari 2600 was one of the first kind of mainstream consoles. The next big thing was the launch of the Nintendo, the original Nintendo Entertainment System back in the mid-80s, which really took off and made video games sort of a permanent feature of the entertainment landscape. It's gone from being sort of PC-focused and then console-focused, and now, of course, we've got the mobile game industry, which is actually a majority of the industry now, in part because everybody owns a mobile device.
In 2020, the pandemic shut down the world, which further fueled the market. And while lockdowns hurt businesses like restaurants and tourist attractions, the video game industry got a major boost, even for a short while.
The industry grew well over 30% in 2020, and there was some sort of residual growth in 21. And then people came back out of their houses again. A lot of firms sort of saw the increased demand and chased it, maybe unwisely. People were chasing talent. And again, I think that led to overinvestment. And then when things moderated, a lot of people got caught off base.
It is estimated that globally, more than 14,000 video game workers were laid off in 2024. Up from roughly 10,000 the year before.
One of the things I'm probably most proud of in my career, given that I don't really have any creative talent at all myself, is that I seem to have some ability to figure out who's really talented and somehow convince them to work within our system, and then most importantly, then to pursue their passions, their genuine creative passions. One of the questions I'm often asked is, does generative AI mean that someone sitting at home can ask ChatGPT 14 to make a GTA competitor, code it, give me the marketing materials, and we're off to the races? I don't believe for a minute that that's going to happen. There's no evidence that tool sets allow people to win creatively. To the contrary, I think these are phenomenal digital tools, and the more mundane tasks will be done more automatically.
Still, 30% of game developers believe generative AI is having a negative effect on the industry, according to a recent report by the Game Developers Conference.
I know that generative AI is really nothing but a copyright minefield. I will never use generative AI. I will never use anything created from AI, mostly because most AI is trained on data sets that I have no idea what they are.
In contrast to the AAA gaming companies like Take-Two, independent developers create their own games with significantly less funding. They flock to the annual GDC in San Francisco to show off their latest projects and maybe even attract some investors.
Feeling inspired by other developers is a big part of GDC for me. I think it is possible to take more risks in smaller studios. The budget is smaller, so there's less of a monetary risk. The folks that start these smaller studios are usually looking to tell a story that's unique and different.
Sharon Khan is the lead producer at Visai Games, a small independent studio that swept up awards last year for its game Venba.
The winner is Venba.
Venba. Venba!
And the BAFTA goes to Venba.
I remember when we first started working on it, there was a bit of a joke that, oh, maybe we'll win the grand prize at the IGFs, but I don't think anyone really expected it. You're essentially playing in the role of an Indian immigrant mother. Her and her husband come to Toronto and they start a new life. They end up getting pregnant and having a kid right as they're about to think about going back because they're struggling financially in Canada. And the story just goes through the relationship Venba has with her son, and it's told through food and cooking. It's probably going to get people to call their mom.
The game has been quite successful, making over 2 times its budget back in sales and exceeding $1 million in revenue. But before a game can thrive, independent developers often need funding to bring their vision to life.
It was really difficult to get support at that time because Venba was considered too risky and too weird. We made a trailer for this event called Wholesome Games Direct, and the trailer ended up blowing up, and that's when we started getting contacted by various publishers and funding sources. We managed to get funding directly from platforms such as Microsoft, Xbox, and Sony, and so we decided not to go with a publisher, and that, along with an Ontario Creates Fund, which is like a government grant in Canada, we were good to go for the rest of production.
Whether it's a small independent release or a big studio one, video games do more than just entertain players. They help connect users to other people, cultures, and even imaginary lands.
Our focus around here is to be of service to our consumers, to engage them and captivate them and delight them. If we get that right, then the numbers will take care of themselves.